Hey guys, Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. So today we're going to talk about your exit plan. What are you going to do one day? Are you going to work the rest of your days until you're an old man and you just can't work anymore? Or do you have a plan to get out and get out the right way? Our guest today did just that. And we're going to jump on this right after this. Let's go. So, hey guys, welcome back to HVAC Greatness. I've got a special guest today. This is Sandy Hines. We go back to about 2019, right, Sandy? How are you doing today?
I believe so, yeah.
So Sandy, you did work out an exit plan. In fact, you just executed upon it of Hines Heating and Air Conditioning, I believe plumbing and a few other things as well. Can you maybe introduce yourself, a little bit about you to the listeners so that they can kind of relate to you? Because a lot of our listeners are small business owners. They've been around for a long time, some of them a short time. And so this is a particularly interesting subject because we can't do this forever. It's a little tough on the body and as well as the model's changing and the economy's changing. And like you said, the climate has changed. All kind of stuff is changing out there. But tell us a little bit about Hines and how that came to be. How long were you in business and how you ended up selling?
So my name is Sandy Hines. And when I was looking at what was I going to call my company, when I was shifting gears, I spent a decade in the wind and solar energy game, installing SkyStream wind turbines. I've got probably 35, 40 of those out there, whole bunch of hot water, a whole bunch of solar trackers and solar modules on people's roofs. And I got out of that because it was such a struggle to make any kind of money. And I was introduced to the heating and ventilation game through somebody who became my business partner. And we were searching around for a company name. And I said, look, why don't we call it Hines? I was the youngest at the time, and he was in his late 60s and he wanted to retire, but he was just, kicking around, and he was an HVAC technician. And so he got me introduced to this. And so I'm the Hines and Shines. And so that's kind of the brand recognition came out of, or the brand and the name of the company came out of my name. And that's how it started about 10 years ago, back, it'd be 10 years ago, July 13th, I think, 2013. We started as three guys working together, started Shines Energy in Nova Scotia in Canada. So
just 10 years ago.
Just 10 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
It was from start to finish. It was a 10-year ride of it was exciting. It was terrifying. It was absolutely nail biting sometimes. I mean, we went through the COVID thing, as we all have. I went through a variety of different business models, tried a couple of things, lost a lot of money, risked everything. And I mean, everything. I second mortgaged my home and, did a whole bunch of stuff and worked exceptionally a lot of hours to get to the point where I got to at the end. And it's been a struggle, but I would, if I was to look back on it, I'd do a lot of things differently. I'd be a liar to say that I wouldn't change anything, but it was a really great experience, the time that I put into it. And I was fortunate. I think I worked really hard, set myself up for a bit of luck. If you don't work really hard and an opportunity comes along, it won't fall on you if you're not seen to be that guy that's working his butt off to be successful. And so I had some luck, and I had some good partners and some great employees, and so I got lucky, and I'm able to retire and live a halfway decent lifestyle.
So a lot of people go through this, and they have those ups and downs, and particularly the downs. And I was talking to a guy just a couple of months ago, and he said, "Pete, it's just not worth it." it's just not worth it. And sometimes it feels like that. And I know we all need some motivation, and it's not for everybody. Okay. So, did you ever think that, man, it's just not worth it? And in hindsight, what would you say today? Was it worth it?
Um, Probably about once a week after being exhausted at the end of a day. You're out installing gear, running. I mean, so when I retired, I had 27 people working for me. But when I first started, um, it was myself in a van, and we had a pickup truck, and then we had two vans, and then three vans, and then et cetera. We grew, and you'd be out installing equipment, and then you'd be coming back to the office, and you'd look at the paperwork that had to be processed to make sure that the bills got paid. And it'd be 7:30 or 6:30 or 7 o'clock after everybody's gone home, and you're sitting in the office, this lonely old office, and you're just looking at all this stuff and going, "Why am I doing this?" Because I was making enough to pay the bills, my own home bills, and stay alive, but it wasn't getting rich.
I can relate to that. I remember.
And the bigger I got, at every step I said, but when I get to 5 guys or 6 guys, I'll have somebody be able to do that. And then I'd get to 6 guys, and I go like, no, it's really, I still got to do it all. And I get to 10 guys, and it'd be same thing. Then I would think, when I get to 15 guys, I'll have an operations manager, and I get to 15 guys. And now it still all felt, the workload changed. It did, but it didn't go away. It got more intense, so by the end, I was rewarded both financially at the end of it. I was rewarded financially. I can't lie about that. But there was some terrifying times getting there. Even the last few years, COVID almost, we were as a residential installation company, which predominantly, we do some rooftops, right? Not a whole bunch, and we've got some big churches, and some big buildings that we take care of, or they still take care of. But we have 5,000 at the end of it. At the end of it, when I left, I had a little over 5,000 clients, and probably 4,800 of them were residential installations, and so it was pretty tough once we hit the COVID thing, and nobody would even let you go anywhere near their house, let alone, they were almost afraid to talk to you on the phone. We didn't know anything at that time. So that was a scary time. But getting up to there, ironically, 2019 was a great year. We were going gangbusters, selling and installing, and the team was growing and all that kind of stuff. We rolled into 2020, and as I navel gazed over the Christmas break and all that kind of stuff, and started to figure out what are my budgets for next year? How am I going to do what am I going to do for marketing? Can I afford to buy another van? Can I do this? Can I do that? I came up with the motto that 2020, the year of perfect vision. And unfortunately, 2020, that's what it
clever.
was. Shines Energy, the year
clever.
of perfect vision. And it turned out that I had cataracts. Because
Wow.
2020 is when COVID hit, right? And I didn't see that. There was stuff going on. I didn't see that coming. But the struggle is real.
It is.
Every day, every week, you think, is it worth it? Because it's you put in a lot of effort. You really do. You work your excuse the pardon my French, but you work your ass off every single day on so many different things. And it's hard to maintain that focus every single day on the vast majority, the wide variety of topics that you have to do. You have to be involved with your sales side of it. You have to be involved with the accounting side of it, and the installation side of it, and supplier side, and the logistics of getting trucks here, and then trucks breaking down and all that kind of stuff. It was weird.
Sure. I mean, it is, and it's demanding on, depending on what your strengths are. I'm sure you had your strengths and your skill set that you brought in. A number of our listeners are, they don't have an MBA and they don't have a double degree. I know you were very well educated. You came from that side.
Yeah.
And they come in and just kind of work this way up, and it's even that much more difficult. But you didn't study business, did you? What did you degree in? I can't remember.
So I did an electronics instrumentation when I was in my teens.
Okay.
18, 19. I did an automated manufacturing thing for like working at a Pratt and Whitney, doing machine tools and stuff like that. And then I went out and worked. Eventually I did an executive MBA. So I did study business. I did study marketing. I did study that stuff, but it was not that I did it off hours, right? I did it kind of behind the scenes, while I was still working. So it was, that was a struggle. That was a challenge. And then, I went through the school of hard knocks. I did a whole bunch of, like everybody, you get experience, you get experience and you don't make so many mistakes, but the only way you get experience is by making a lot of mistakes. And I did that.
And that's really what I wanted to point out. I mean, you can take some business in school, but did it really prepare you for the education that was to come from the real world? And
it didn't.
Because people are going to look at you and say, yeah, but he had that advantage. I can't do that because I don't have that advantage. And clearly,
but it's not it wasn't an advantage. So just to be, there will be people that think that you got to get an education to get out and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's a fallacy. I think that's wrong.
Of course it is. Yeah.
And the number of HVAC books and selling books that I read over it had nothing to do with my education. But, I read all of the books that are not all of them. Of course, there's tons of books, but I read and read about how to be successful and all this stuff. A stack of books could be,
Sure.
it'd be 18 inches tall. I mean, I left them in my office when I retired because for anybody else that wanted to read them. But I read the little red book on selling and how to close and all of them. I read, you build knowledge through experience. You build experience through knowledge, and you gain knowledge through reading. That's my philosophy. If you don't read, you have to read. You have to figure, because you don't know this. You don't have you may have the animal instinct to do the job and get it done, but the finesse of success comes from understanding the rules of the business side of it, right? You have to, and the only way you get that is reading. And I read. As a young man, I was a voracious reader, and then as I got older and started having a family and stuff, that kind of went aside. But when I got 20 years ago, I started reading again the business books, and trying to figure out what does it mean. Even though I did an MBA, I couldn't read a balance sheet properly. I couldn't read an income statement. I really didn't have that background. One course in accounting does not make you understand that stuff. It makes you have a vocabulary. That's it.
And I think if I can relate that, how many of you guys out there that are technicians and you want to start your business and you think about the experience of getting where you are right now, how many of you could have went and read the principles of heating and air conditioning and then went out and fixed one? I mean, it doesn't work that way. It prepares you, right? And it gives you the information that you need, but it takes that actual hands-on. And, as I've gotten older, one of my epiphanies was, so much, was it Socrates that said, learning is remembering. And a lot of times it's just remembering all this stuff that you've learned, or sometimes an experience that you've had. And then the book comes along, or the conversation, the deeper conversation comes along, and you read this thing, and all of a sudden
all the other pieces fall into place.
Yes.
I mean, and that's where I was going with this, right? A lot of the stuff that's written will have no application, right? It just doesn't apply. It's interesting reading but it doesn't stick to your business model. And my business model would be different than everybody else's business model. Everybody's unique, and everybody, like you said, Pete, everybody's got their own strengths, their own inherent abilities, and the doing that extra reading, even the trade journals, right? HVA news and all HVAC news and all that kind of stuff. I used to read them. I would read them cover to cover. I didn't necessarily read them, but I'd look at all the articles and I say, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And there would be every single time I would read one of the trade journals, there'd be something in there that would be applicable.
Sure.
A little bit of knowledge, and I didn't necessarily use it instantly, but there comes a time that you accumulate all these things, and then you get into a situation where you go, "Oh, that's what it means. That's how I do it."
Yeah.
I suck at accounting and the books.
I hated the numbers, but you got to know them,
You do. So the way that I got around it, I hired a lady who did my books, and she is still working for the company. She was with me for the entire 10 years, and we became best of friends and worst of enemies by times. And she took care of the books, and I trusted her inherently. I was very, very lucky. And we grew together, and as the company grew, and she became the font of information. She had a memory like a trap. She remembered every customer that ever went through, because she would touch everybody's name. She would, as you were doing the books and stuff, everybody got recorded and everything. And she knew all the issue. When there was an issue, when somebody's name would come up, say, "Oh, I remember that." She said, "Yeah, that's the one. Remember that one where the boys put their, they scratched the floor, or it leaked water, or it did something odd." So she became exceptionally important in the big scheme of things for the success of what I did, because I was weak there. I was very, very weak in that side of it, collecting money, and I always tried to charge enough, but I was really poor at, yes, Mr. Jones, give me your money.
Yeah.
Or if they were delinquent in doing a payment or something, she was like a dog on a bone, and she wouldn't let them go. And you need somebody, you need to identify, I think you need to identify, what is it that you can't do? And I knew I didn't like that. I hated it. And even when I sold my business, I hated it. And there was so much of it.
Yeah. And so, and then that's part of what we call interdependence, where we hire people that are better than we are in certain things, and for we're better as a group. I've got a question that I want to ask you, and it's going to take laying just a bit of groundwork for the audience. But you were almost, after 10 years, up to 6 million in gross revenues.
Pretty close. Yeah. We would have, when I left, if I had kept it for the next 2 months, and we were on a trajectory for what we would have exceeded 6 million for the first time as a company.
Which is terrific. And how many employees at the time?
27.
27.
27 of us. Yeah.
Now, I went from 0 employees to 10. No, I'm sorry, 0 employees to 14 in 10 years. And it was hard on me, especially financially.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine going to 27 in 10 years. So hats off to you on that. I don't know how you did that. But the point is that you build this business in 10 years, and then you're selling it. And was it all those sales books that you read? How did you sell it? What did you go talk somebody into buying it from you, or how did you present the value?
It's a remember what I said. You get lucky. This is one of those lucky things. Okay,
I challenge that, but go ahead.
Yeah,
I think you're good, and you're just being humble. But go ahead.
Well, the way that I got introduced to the group that bought the company was just basically kind of, we might have bumped head. I might have bumped into them because they were on an acquisition trail.
Right.
But I had talked with 3 other companies that were looking to purchase, and they all wanted to do an earn out, and the money wasn't really what I was after, because I wasn't as successful as I wanted to be.
Sure.
My margins were not as high as they should have been, and da 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 da. But when you get it in your head that you want to sell your business, you kind of have to advertise a little bit. And I was at the company that I leased all my vehicles from, all the vans, and there was a new sales manager, and he introduced us. We were introduced to each other, and he said, how's business going? Blah blah blah. And we were talking about my business. He was asking intelligent questions because I was buying. I probably had 6 or 7 leases on vans from him, and he said, "So, what are your plans?" Right? So I got some gray hair, and so he was just asking, curious, and I said, "Well, I mean, but the business is always for sale." And he said, "Are you serious about that?" I said, "Yeah, I'm serious. I mean, I was 63, and would have loved to, not necessarily on purpose shopping the company around, but I was talking in discussions, trying to figure out what do I do." And he said, "Well, I just moved from Ontario, and I know this company that's been buying up heating and ventilation companies, heating and cooling. Would you like me to give you the guy's name that I know?" And I said, "Sure." So he gave me the name, and I took his business card with the name written on the back, and I tossed it on my desk. And a week went by, and then I picked up the card and I flipped it over. Oh yeah, so I gave this guy a call, and they said, "Yeah, we would be interested in having a discussion." So we talked on the phone for probably about a half an hour, and then we did a non-disclosure agreement, which is to protect them and protect me. And then after we had another meeting, and then we had another meeting, they brought somebody else in to ask a couple of questions about my business model and stuff like that. And then it just, one thing progressed into another, and 6 months later, I'm unemployed.
So there's a couple of takeaways from that. Number one, you never sell anything you don't offer. And so you put yourself out there, so you put yourself in that position, but then, it's always about timing. And I forget, was it Les Brown that he said, the last thing you want is the opportunity to come along and you're not prepared. It's better to always be prepared, so that when the opportunity comes along, you can pull the trigger.
You can take advantage of it.
Right. So you had been prepared, or constantly preparing for this. And so when the timing did come along, the stars aligned, luck happened, if you will, and you successfully sold your business. And my listeners will kill me if I don't ask. And I know you got a non-disclosure agreement, you can't direct it, but maybe you can help them in some idea understand the type of money that one can get when they sell their business, in terms of, can they live out the rest of their days? I mean, truly, and live the same lifestyle or a better lifestyle? How could you answer that so that you don't cross that line?
Okay, so you're right. I have a non-disclosure. I can talk about what my sales volume was, but I'm not allowed to talk about what the sales figure was directly.
Sure.
But the nicest thing that happened is that through the sale of the company, after all the taxes are paid and all the lawyers and the accountants are paid and all that kind of stuff, the lifestyle that I was living, I can maintain it without working. And it's not that I'm going to go buy a mansion, a Ferrari, or a 42-foot yacht, but I can maintain having the vehicles that I like to drive, and I can live in the house that I have, and I can continue to go on vacation a couple of times a year, and I can go hunting when I want to go hunting when it's hunting season. Nice. I don't have to work, but it's not my nature to stop anyway. So I'm looking at other opportunities, non-HVAC opportunities. I can't be in, if I stay in this marketplace, right, I can't compete with them at all. I'm in a non-compete situation here. I can't hire anybody that ever worked for me, and I can't be in the heating and ventilation game, which is fine because I'm tired of
it. Sure. Time for change.
So it's possible to do it. I did it in 10 years. My experience will be different than anybody else's, maybe, but I did it in 10 years. I got to the point where I was attractive enough for a company that was buying HVAC companies, saw the opportunity for it to join them and become a part of their network. So through serendipity, through luck, through hard work, through perseverance, I got here, and I'm happy that it happened, and I know that if I was to say anything to anybody, if you don't work at it and if you don't try, it will not happen. If I hadn't been out there trying to sell my business and putting myself out there, it would have happened. And I figured that I felt that I was probably going to have to work in some capacity until I couldn't work. And that was where my head was at 2 years ago. I figured, I'll always be able to have this heating and ventilation company, and I will always be able to make a living, but I didn't know if I would be able to retire, right? Without keeping my hand in there, I had some really good people working for me, very fantastic. I had a fantastic technical crew. I had a great service manager, a wonderful bookkeeper and office manager. I had some very, very great people, some very loyal people. I was loyal to them. I treated them the best I could. And you build loyalty by being fair. First of all, they're only as loyal as the paycheck. Okay. I never, even despite the fact that I went a year without taking any money home. I don't know how I did it. Both of my other business partner, both of us, we took nothing home. We took our paychecks. We literally took our paychecks and put them in an envelope in a drawer, and my bookkeeper kept them until we were doing good enough to be able to start pulling them out. It took 2 years to get paid back for that year that we banked.
Wow.
And that was the commitment. I mean, that was pretty skinny years for me, but I never, ever once missed paying the guys, right? The team always got paid no matter what happened. Some of my suppliers, I'd be on the phone with them. Look, I know I'm over.
Been there. Yeah.
Can we build up a schedule to get these paid off? I've got this revenue coming. I got this project that's going to complete. Can I give you 20 grand now? And can I give you 15 grand, in a week, and another 10 grand? And that was a necessary requirement. It was a struggle. It was really, really tough. There was some tough times, and those were the times when you question, is this worth it? But then, until you dig yourself out of that financial hole, you don't want to quit then, because you're down. That's you get a bad rap with all the suppliers around town. I mean, there's 450,000 people in my sales envelope, if you will, in the cities that I live in, Halifax, Dartmouth, and their surrounding areas. And there's only a certain amount of suppliers that you can go to, and you start jerking them around and you don't pay them, or you go bankrupt, or you go to business, and it's pretty hard to buy any more equipment if you ever want to start up as Shines Energy 2021. That's a tough chore. So
sure. I'm looking for a takeaway for the listeners. And one of the things, I've been close to a number of these, and these accounting firms will come in and they'll audit your books and and whatnot. And so obviously, if you're getting close to the point where you want to sell, you have to stop the game of hiding your profits, like we do, and actually show and pay taxes and whatnot, and have I don't know how many years they go back these days, at least 5 years, right? Where they go back and everything.
We have to keep our paper for 7.
Well, what I was referring to is the investment group. They generally send in an auditor. They go through your books, and they'll go back so many years. Did they go back 7? Is that what you're saying? Or you're talking about what you're legally bound to by law? Yeah.
What happened by law? We have to keep our books for tax purposes. If
Yes.
if for 7 years.
Yes.
When I sold, they went back 3 years for my sales, and it was just income statements and balance sheet, right?
Okay.
Basically. And they wanted to know the customers, and they wanted to know my marketing and sales strategies and stuff. And just coming out of COVID, it was, they were understanding that there was a big dip, and they had purchased another couple of branches,
Okay.
new other companies that, we all took that hit. And it doesn't matter who you were.
Sure.
Everybody kind of took that hit, and they were very, very fair about that, because, realistically, 2019 was a phenomenal year. I was pumped. 2020 was my year of perfect vision. 2020 vision.
And the cataracts. So
The cataracts hit. So, where was I going?
So yeah, ultimately what we're looking for, what tips would you give based on what you went through?
Yeah. Okay. So the wise thing to do is to keep your books as clean as possible. Don't buy your wife's car and hide it in your books. Don't buy a boat, a 20-foot, 25-foot, 30-foot ski boat, and hide it in your books. Don't do it unless you can justify that you entertained on it and it was a business expense that was legitimate. Don't do it. Don't use your company credit card to buy your groceries. Keep your books clean. Keep your books as clean as you possibly can. Try not to. One of the things that I got comments on was that, this is so easy from the purchaser. This is so easy. It's so clean. This is clean, right? It's not that my books were in great condition per se, but there was none of me. There was no Sandy Hines inside of my books. It was all Shine's energy. All the expenses were legitimate. I wasn't buying expensive things and taking them home. Did I treat myself to stuff that would have been a legitimate expense and use it for my own personal good? Absolutely. All business people do that. That's part of the perks of owning a business. But I didn't take advantage of it, and I didn't abuse it to the point where it would muddy the waters when it came time to selling the business. And they really didn't look at the quality of the vehicles that I had. They needed the list of vehicles. They didn't care about that, and they wanted to know that the inventory was clean, what my balance sheet was, what I owed, what my accounts receivable was, how much money I owed, what the terms of the payments were. They really wanted in-depth information on my employees, and we did an interview on every single person that worked for me. And some of them, we would talk about them for 15, 20 minutes, and some of them would be 5 minutes because of the different roles that they took. The key people, they really wanted to understand who they were, what they did, how integral they were to the success of the operation as it existed underneath my reign. They wanted to understand our market, how we differentiated ourselves in our marketplace. What did we do that would be special that got us to this point? Who and how and where we would expect to go if we were to not sell the business. What were we going to do next? Because they wanted to know what they might do, how, building upon the success that I have and my intimate market knowledge. They wanted to know what they could do that they maybe not have thought of when they took over. So those were kind of the key questions they asked. It would be what you would expect for somebody that was going to buy a company that, they wanted to know the nuts and bolts. How did you become successful? How did you get to this point?
Were you okay? So you're in Nova Scotia, Halifax, 450,000 people. I think you said they're about in your market. Did they determine what your market share was by any chance? Were you the market leader? Were you the biggest boy in the block,
we probably weren't the biggest in our market. There was a couple of not franchise, but larger groups that were in multi-provincial companies that were growing. We were very steady in growth. The heat pump market in Nova Scotia, heat pumps are all the rage in Canada. There's the green solution to
they're pushing that everywhere. Sure.
solve the issues of the world. Um, well, the energy issues anyway. But the heat pump market, we live in a perfect place where it doesn't get really, really cold. It doesn't get really, really super hot. So we don't see if we see 100 degrees, that's pretty unusual.
Sure.
And if we see minus 30, that's really unusual. We don't hardly ever see that. So we kind of float in this wintertime around from zero to, sorry, in Fahrenheit, it would be
Thank you.
25 to 32 degrees, with the occasional dip down to 5, maybe.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Overnight, maybe once in a while. And in the summertime, we'd run high 70s to mid 80s all the time.
Ooh.
But we're surrounded by the ocean. It's completely surrounded. You can't get 60 miles away from the ocean in Nova Scotia. And our relative humidities are running at 95% most of the time. So very, very, we get 85, and it's a uncomfortable heat.
Yeah.
So our market for heat pumps work exceptionally well in that market. Right. So if you are doing the standard air conditioning stuff, and heat pumps give you heat a lot. They work very, very well down to, the new cold climate ones work down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit efficiently, 100% efficient, and they'll air conditioning well into over 100. So, and for our Canadian listeners, it's 35C and minus 15, 20. Everything will work fine. So that's where my market is. We still do furnaces. We do a lot of ducted work and stuff like that, but that's where we come out of. And so there was a lot of heat pump companies when the price of oil spiked back in the late teens. It started to go crazy. No, sorry, I think 2015 oil got really expensive, or 14. I think 13, 14, 15 oil got really expensive, and I think 2017 it dropped. But during those times, the heat pump revolution started, and people were looking for alternative ways to get off of oil. We had this last year and the year before, oil spiked again for a wide variety of reasons, geopolitical reasons. And it went from, we're in liters here, and I'll convert to gallons, but it went from 67 cents a liter to $1.50 a liter. It tripled in price, which is, 4 liters, basically 4 liters to a gallon. So you put that in perspective, it went from $2.30 a gallon to over $6 a gallon for heating your house. So it went 3 times as much. And you get some homes that were, burning, they were going from burning $1,000 a year in home heating to $3,000 a year. That's a pretty big bump in your after-tax dollars, right? After you pay income tax and you pay all the rest of the taxes that are out there, and you got to put a pump of $3,000 into just keeping your house warm. And so everybody was jumping on this mini split and getting off of oil conversion. So we're still in the throes of that here in Nova Scotia and Canada for the most part. And it's coming, I believe it's in the east, in the northern states as well, as very, very much into that converting, getting off of fossil fuels.
So. That's interesting. And I can see why it shines energy, and your focus on that. And of course, throughout the country and, Canada and USA, there's all these different markets, and they have the opposite and whatnot, but we're still in the same business. But thank you so much for your time. I think we've gone over what you've promised, but I did want to get you to kind of recap, if you could, for everybody, because I had this that was jumping out at me, because what we were told once upon a time that a future buyer would be looking at was how many maintenance agreements you had. And I heard a gentleman the other day talking about club memberships are dead. The new buyers aren't looking at that as much as they are other things. And you're confirming they're looking at, of all things, your gross sales, particularly equipment, your marketing position as well as the strategy in your marketing. And I found it particularly interested your culture. What are those individuals in your company that they interviewed every single employee, so that's what they seem to be focused on. I may be missing something, but if you can encourage the guys to have their house in order, you would recap that how?
Sure. So what I found in this particular sale for this particular company, they were interested in how many service level agreements we had, and I didn't have a whole bunch. It wasn't. I never ever focused on that. We were a sales driven organization. It was always about getting that next customer, running that install, right? We were about installing new equipment. We were a new equipment installation company, or swapping out existing equipment, oil equipment. We didn't install oil equipment. We didn't install gas equipment. We got rid of it. We took it out and put in heat pumps. I had electricians at one time, and we would upgrade people's electrical service so they could handle the electric backup loads for heat pumps. And we would electrify home. We were doing electrification of homes. We were doing heat pumps, getting people off of hydrocarbons of any sort. They were interested in. I had 2 Costco's, and they were interested in that marketplace because there's 2 Costco's, one in Dartmouth, one in Halifax. So I was lucky enough 8 years ago to have those. I did a lot of business with Costco's. I had a very, very good reputation, and my reviews, when I left, it was 4.6, and I think we had about 380 reviews or 400 reviews. And we asked customers for reviews. When we were processing people's paperwork, a lot of times there would be a call would be made by one of my team members, and if they had a good experience, we'd always ask them for a review. And if something went to heck in a handbasket on the install, or they were a little bit cranky and they were complaining about something, we never asked them for a review. Okay. But reviews, getting good reviews, coaching you, and you're thinking about it, and your team to go after those reviews and ask for reviews. I think that was really, really important. I think they saw that as being very successful. And one of the comments that I got is that, yeah, and you responded to every negative review. If you had a 1-star review, I responded professionally, and I didn't criticize the customer. I apologized that their experience wasn't as what we would have expected, and that we're going to try and do better. We take all this seriously, and then I would leave in the, you can always reach out, and I would give out my personal phone number. Call me or call the office to discuss this. Right? We'll try to make it right for you. And that was a big thing. But it really didn't, it was about sales more than it was about service agreements. They saw the potential with 5,000 customers, what they could do for their clubs, a service club. Mm-hmm. And they were going to do that. And I believe that they're in that process of doing it now. But at the time, when I was the owner, they were looking at more on my gross sales, what I was selling and how many customers I was getting.
And I think I remember you saying that you're an award-winning Linux Premier dealer. Did that help? Did that?
Yeah. So I've been a Linux. So we predominantly sell Linux. We sold so we were a Linux dealer with a and had Mitsubishi as not a backup, but a secondary one. So we had 2 brands that we sold. We sold Rheem hot water tanks and the Rheem product line. We would sell also a little bit of GE and some LGs as well. Mm-hmm. But our primary focus was on Linux. We became a Premier dealer. I bought into the Premier dealer dealership 7-8 years ago, kind of when we started working with Costco. We became a Centurion dealer, which is the top 10% of the dealers in your district.
Congratulations.
And we won that award 5 times. And last year we were a Centurion dealer, and we won the Dave Lennox Signature Series as we sold the most in our district, the top sales of the Dave Lennox Signature Series SL25s. So
Wow.
we sold the most of anybody in our district, which includes New York, Boston, Toronto, Montreal, Halifax, etc.
That's huge. That had
And
to,
we worked, the sales team, so it was really huge, and it made a lot of difference when they start checking bona fides. These are things that they can check,
yes,
and all you got to do. I've got a glory wall where all the plaques are hanging,
right.
and I just sent the pictures. And when I was throughout the process of dealing with them, I won the Dave Lennox Signature Series award, which kind of was like one more nail. And then I won the Centurion Award that year, and I have another one, right? And in Costco, I was number 2 and number 3 in sales volume for Costco's across Canada for both of my stores, and I was beating the stores that they owned on a regular basis every single month for months and months and months.
They
leading
being
up
the company you're buying.
the purchaser. Yeah, they had branches. Many of their branches had Costco's in different jurisdictions, and I was kicking their ass.
Oh,
Right, I was winning by $50,000 to $150,000 a month in each store difference.
wow.
So these are the things that we excelled at, and that was because of the sales team that I had. I had 3 fantastic salesmen, and we worked every Tuesday morning for 2 to 3 hours strategizing and planning. And we would do equipment stuff. We would bring in our territory manager. We bring in technical stuff so that they understood it. We would strategize on, here's my success this week, and here's how I did it. Here's my hardest one that I turned into a $15,000 sale, right? And then we brought in our territory manager for Lennox, and I've had 2 territory managers in my 10 years, and they would come in and they would talk to us about this, how to sell, what to do, what were the tips, and we invited all of the people that represented the products that we sell to come and teach my team, both on the technical side and on the sales side. How do we differentiate ourselves? What does your product do that's better? We took the attitude that the only way we were going to be able to beat the competition and charge more than people were selling exactly the same product is to have every single answer that the consumer would have on the product and be able to give a value proposition as to why you should be dealing with. We worked at it meticulously about what are the key points of why you do it. We've got professionals installation. We are a Centurion dealer. We are this, we are that. And we weren't, when we first started, we didn't strategize that way as much. We were just growing. We were just under the throes of, I got 10 sales this week. And
Sure.
then it became, I got 30 sales this week. And then, oh my gosh, we're swamped. We got files, stacks and stacks of files coming at us, right? And then how do we streamline the processes? But at the end of it, we were strategizing the differentiating how can we sell in our marketplace the Dave Lennox Signature Series. We would take out oil furnaces, and we will put in this heat pump, and they would sell from anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 a crack. It was a $5,000 government rebate. There was some money they would get back from if they bought it through Costco. There was a provincial rebate. So they, their cost of ownership was still $18,000. They were still out of pocket, anywhere from $15,000 to $18,000.
Right.
After all the grants. And I know there's grants in both the US and Canada that are very attractive at this moment in time. So take advantage. If I can say one thing to you, take advantage of the grants. Make sure that you are selling those grants, because they make all the difference. Don't think that it's not worth doing. It's too much paperwork. Become an expert in the paperwork. Make that paperwork easy. Train your team to make the paperwork easy. It really, really is important to take advantage of that, because when you go into somebody's home and you're selling an expensive, you can upsell. You don't go for the base model. Go for the kill. It's the same amount of labor hours. and your gross margin on them is $10,000 more or $7,000 more, exactly the same labor component, and you make an extra $2,000 or $3,000 on every job, and the customer at the end of the day, they're happy that they spent this money because they got the premier system, right? They got the King Wambimbi of thermostats on the wall that tells them the temperature outside, and tells them if it's raining, if it's going to snow, if it's going to be super hot, and they got something to brag over when their buddy comes over and they're having a few beers. Come see this. Look at this. It's psychology. Why do people want to buy the best? They don't know. They don't know until you tell them. You got to tell them why they want to buy it. And you can take a gross ticket sale of $14,000, which is what our base 12,500 to 14,000 would be the base model, a 17 SEER heat pump, and you bump them up into an SL25, and it would be $22,000 to $25,000 depending upon the install. And we would lay it out for them. Here's the advantage. Here's why you do this. Here, you don't talk trash about the base stuff, because they're still going to buy something. You're going to sell them something. You got to give them an option. Here's the base, and here's what this one does. And you start going through it. What the value is. You promote your company, the founders, the founding principles of what it is about what you do. You're 100% satisfaction guarantee, right? What are you going to do to post sales? What are the sales training that we continuously do?
Sure.
The technician training, and this was no lie. We did this. This is what we did as a business. We're a premier dealer with Lennox. We've been with Costco for at the close of when I got out 8 years. We've been in business for 10 years. We came out of the solar and wind business and migrated into you build up what it is you do, and you put this value proposition, the best equipment on the marketplace, and you pull out the award sheet that Lennox gives you about this has won all these awards and all these different magazines and all that kind of stuff. And the customer goes, well, I don't want the cheap one. I want that one.
Yeah.
And they sell themselves.
Right.
They sell themselves in it, right? And all the research that they do online says this is the best in the market. And you just, away you go. And it doesn't matter if you're selling Lennox, or Mitsubishi, because Mitsubishi's got the Zuva, Train's got their, I forget, every single brand has their best, their good, better, and best. And make sure that you promote the good, sell for the best, and expect that you might get the better, right? But
I like that.
The installation dollars are exactly the same no matter what you sell in those markets. If you're changing out an air conditioner and you're putting in a 14 SEER air conditioner versus a 22 SEER air conditioner, well, how much money difference is it to sell the 22? You don't sell them on energy savings. You sell them on comfort. You sell them on the how quiet it's going to be. You sell them on the longevity of it, the better build quality, the aesthetic appeal of it because it's sitting on the side of your house, and all of those things. You sell them on your company, why you're there. A good salesman is going to make more money than you are as an owner.
I like that.
Absolutely guarantee it. If you're not paying your salesman more than you're taking home as an owner, you're going to kick yourself when you go, oh crap, when you're doing up there, and in Canada it's a T4, their record of earnings, and you look at it and go, they made that much money, they made almost twice what I took home. Right now, I was building equity in the business. Yeah, but they were making more money than I was making. The three of them, they were making a heck of a lot of money, but they were the driving force behind the company. Sales. Yeah. There were times that we were 6 to 8 weeks out in sales because those guys could sell so hard. In the busy season, they would just bring home. We were doing 4 installations, 5 installations a day, and we were booked for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's where we got to at the end, right? We worked, which is what made this why I became a good acquisition target, because I had that sales, I had that team, I had the work. Everybody had a work ethic. It was a philosophy of do it right and do it correctly. Don't and what I always told every single person inside the company: never lie. Never lie to the customer. Don't tell them that this one ductless mini split head is going to heat or cool your entire space, because the technician that comes in to install it is going to say, no, it's only going to do this. And then the service technician that comes in to fix it is only going to tell them that it's only going to do this. And when they call me up and I don't know what you told them, if you told them the truth, I can defend every single thing that anybody inside the company says. Tell the truth all the time, and you will get a reputation of being a reputable, go-to, customer-driven company. I had a very, 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 this is me. Okay, so this is not me blowing my own horn here. Okay, but I would take the customers' calls on weekends. I took every service call every weekend for the last 5 years. Okay. I took every after hours call went to me. Now in our marketplace, it's a little different than other markets. The heat pump markets always have a backup heat source. So if their heat pump failed on a Friday night at 8 o'clock, I'd say, well, turn up your oil, right? Turn on your electric baseboards, turn on your gas furnace. And they go, but that's going to cost me money. Well, it's going to cost you $260 for me to go out of my way to go look at it and maybe not fix it. And then, and you're not going to burn that much oil by the time Monday comes, when I can send a technician as part of your warranty, And
I bet the rest of I'm just thinking about these guys that don't have that, because they're on call a lot. They're called out a lot, but go ahead. Yeah.
So our marketplace is different. And I have to recognize for everybody out there that we all live in a different world. Okay. We all have a different market and a different consumer customer base. And what you do is not maybe what I did, but maybe some of what I've done or talked about here is applicable. Yeah. It's like we talked about reading books. Yeah. You got to read a lot of books to get that one little nugget. You got to read some of the same stuff over and over again to get that one. Oh, wow, that's a really great idea. Sure. And you got to listen to people like me, old guys like me, talking to, younger men in the throes of trying to become old men and be able to do what I did. You got to listen to us talk about stuff that you think and then you hear something and you say, wow, that's a great idea. And not that I have great ideas. I say I was lucky. I worked hard at becoming lucky by working my tail off to get here. So
awesome. Sandy, I promised you to keep it to a half hour. We've gone well over that. I really appreciate you donating this extra time and giving back to your industry and sharing, your success story, so that other people can be inspired and understand that, they can do this too, and it can be done. And it's not just, the lucky.
It's not impossible, although it feels like it's impossible sometimes.
Although it feels like.
And if I could close on one thing, it was the worst of times, it was the best of times, but it was the best of times almost all of the time. I would never have wanted to work for anybody in the last 20 years of my life of being an entrepreneur. It was a struggle, but it is the most rewarding thing I have ever done in my 64 years on this planet, is to work with the teams that I had and see the success that they had. My sales team was successful, right? And it was, I got up in front of my team at a Christmas party once, and I said, guys, we won all these awards. I knew this was Christmas of 2022. And I got out and I said, I stood in front of them and I said, I'm very good at long-winded speeches, but I'm going to be short tonight. Said, we've won these awards, and I know the accolades fall on me, and I'm the one that gets the award, and I'm the one that goes up there and presents it. And I show you guys, I bring it back. But I'm the conductor in this orchestra. Okay. I don't play the music. I don't make the music. I don't play the installs. I don't play the sales. I don't play the service. I don't play the accounting. I don't play the logistics. I don't play that. I get up in front of all you and I do this. I tap on the podium and I go, are we ready? And then I go, dun, 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 and I get you guys to do this and I get you guys to do that. I'm the conductor, but you guys make the music. And together we're an orchestra.
Awesome.
And that really is, if you can be the conductor and have a team that knows how to play the music, and all they need is the direction to be successful and your efforts. That's what I did. That's how I did it. That's exactly how I did it. I was just the conductor.
Love it. Awesome metaphor. Well, thank you again, Sandy. And I'm going to wind down now. So guys, I hope that you took note on this. Okay. We've got veterans in here that are sharing their experience with you. I know there's a lot of you young guys out there. You're at different stages. Maybe you're just getting started. Maybe you're already 10, 20 years in and saying it's not happening for me. Guys, get the help, build the culture like Sandy did. Hold yourself accountable. Enjoy the journey, as he said, not just, the best of times, but there's a lot of low times, and a lot of times we feel like it's just not worth it, but it is. It is. It is, and that's why you're in there. So keep those trucks between the ditches. Be careful and stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Pete. A quick thank you for joining me today on HVAC Greatness, or maybe just letting me keep you company as you're out running about. Either way, I sincerely hope that you picked up on something today that might help you and your business progress on your journey to HVAC Greatness. Want more? Make sure we stay on the air. Share the podcast with a friend, rate and review it, and be sure to subscribe to our email list at HVACgreatness.com so that you don't miss anything. This is Pete Ramsey signing out and reminding you why your customers love your business and what makes your company great. In one word, you. So let's keep refining your already good image and make it truly great.